Welcome. Today we're cutting straight to the heart of cryptocurrency security, your seed phrase.
hmm
What exactly is it? How safe is it really? And are those worries about someone guessing it? Are they actually realistic? We're also going to tackle how your different crypto accounts relate back to that one single seed phrase.
Right. So think of a seed phrase as, well, basically the master key for your entire crypto world.
Right.
It's usually a short list of words, typically 12 or maybe 24.
Okay.
And you get these when you first set up a cryptocurrency wallet. Now, these words aren't just like random dictionary words thrown together. They're actually a human-readable way to represent a huge amount of digital randomness.
Yeah.
We call this entropy.
Entropy.
Yeah, and this entropy, that's the foundation. It's what's used to create all the private keys and addresses inside your wallet. Most wallets today use a standard called BIP-39.
BIP-39, okay.
Yeah. And that draws from a specific list of 2048 words, so a 12-word phrase. That holds about 132 bits of this entropy. A 24-word phrase, that's roughly 264 bits. And the number of bits, well, that's what fundamentally determines how secure it is.
Okay, so this string of words is incredibly important, obviously. But how secure are they, in practice? With so much potentially at stake, could someone conceivably just guess a valid seed phrase?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
And also, if I have, say, multiple accounts in the same wallet, how do they all connect back to this one phrase? That's what we're really digging into today.
Let's tackle the security question head on. The sheer number of possible combinations for these seed phrases is, well, it's mind-boggling.
How mind-boggling are we talking?
Okay, so for a 12-word seed phrase, we're looking at roughly 5.4 multiplied by 10 to the power of 39 possible combinations.
Wow. That's a 5 with, 39 zeros after it.
Exactly. And if you jump to a 24-word phrase, it's up to around 2.3 times 10 to the power of 79 combinations. These numbers are they're astronomically large.
Okay, those numbers are almost impossible to really grasp. What does that actually mean for you and me? Could a hacker just sit there and try to get lucky guessing combinations?
Well, the scale of these numbers makes what we call a brute force attack essentially impossible.
Impossible, like really impossible.
Pretty much. Picture this. Even if someone had a supercomputer, maybe something hypothetical, that could make 1 trillion guesses every single second.
1 trillion per second.
Even with that speed, it would still take approximately 10 to the power of 27 years. That's a 1 followed by 27 zeros to try every single possibility for just a 12-word seed phrase.
10 to the 27 years.
Years, yeah. And just to give you some context, the entire universe is estimated to be around, 13.8 billion years old.
Right. A tiny fraction of that time.
Exactly. So the time needed to crack a 12-word seed phrase by brute force is just vastly, vastly longer than the current age of the universe. It's not feasible.
Right. That paints a very clear picture. So systematically trying every combination is completely out of the question. But what about future tech, like quantum computing? We hear a lot about that. Could that change the game?
Quantum computing is definitely an interesting area, yeah. And it does offer potential speed-ups for certain kinds of calculations, including searching.
Okay.
The most relevant algorithm here is probably Grover's algorithm. But the key thing is it only provides a quadratic speed-up.
Quadratic. So not like instantly breaking it.
No, not at all. Even with that theoretical speed boost, the number of guesses required to crack a seed phrase remains so incredibly huge that it would still take an impractical amount of time. We're talking far, far beyond anything conceivable, even with quantum computers.
Okay, that's good to know. So the fundamental security against brute force seems, pretty robust, even looking ahead. Now let's think about just randomly guessing. We know brute forcing everything is impossible, but could someone just, stumble upon the right combination? Pure luck.
Right. To really get a feel for how unlikely that is, let's try an analogy.
Okay, I like analogies.
Imagine a desert, an absolutely enormous desert stretching further than you can possibly see, just sand everywhere.
Got it. Big desert.
Now picture one single specific grain of sand hidden somewhere in that entire vast desert. The challenge of randomly guessing a valid 12-word seed phrase. It's like someone closing their eyes, reaching down into this massive desert, and picking out that exact grain of sand on their very first try.
Okay, whoa. Picking one specific grain of sand from a giant desert blindfolded, that sounds difficult.
Difficult is an understatement.
So how big are we talking here? How big does this desert need to be to make the comparison accurate?
Okay, well, for a 12-word seed phrase, remember that number. About 5.4 times 10 to the 39 possibilities.
Yeah, it's a huge one.
Our desert would need to contain that many individual grains of sand. 5.4 times 10 to the 39 grains. Now, just to put that into perspective, scientists estimate that the entire Earth, all the beaches, all the deserts, everything, contains around 7.5 times 10 to the 18 grains of sand.
Okay, wait. 10 to the 18 for the whole Earth versus 10 to the 39 for the seed phrase possibilities.
Exactly. So our hypothetical desert isn't just bigger than all the sand on Earth. It's exponentially larger, like unimaginably larger. You'd need countless Earth's worth of sand multiplied together many, many times over.
That scale is just, yeah, it's staggering.
It really highlights the near impossibility of randomly guessing a valid seed phrase. It's just not going to happen.
That analogy really hits home. Okay, so the chances are so incredibly tiny that for all practical purposes, you just don't need to worry about someone randomly guessing your seed phrase.
Correct.
All right, let's switch gears then. Let's talk about how multiple accounts relate to that single seed phrase. When I set up a crypto wallet using a seed phrase, it often generates, several different addresses or accounts for me. Are these all uniquely tied back to that original phrase?
Yes, absolutely. This goes right to the core of how these wallets are designed to work predictably. When you have your seed phrase, it's not like directly used to make the addresses you see. Think of it more as the root, the starting point for a whole series of mathematical operations.
Right.
First, that phrase gets transformed into a more complex, longer string of data. You can think of it like taking a simple ingredient and prepping it to be the base for a more complicated recipe.
Okay, like a base seed.
Exactly, often just called the seed. And the seed data is then processed further using cryptographic hashing functions to create what we call a master key.
Got it. Seed phrase. Process seed master key. What happens after that master key is created?
So from that master key, wallets that follow what's called a hierarchical deterministic structure, or HD structure, use a very defined pathway.
HD wallet, right. Heard that term.
Yeah. They use this pathway to generate a kind of tree-like structure of child keys. And these child keys are what ultimately control your individual accounts and addresses.
A tree structure, okay.
And these pathways, they follow specific standards so everything is consistent. For example, in the Cardano world, a typical derivation path might look something like M52 prime 0, prime 00.
Okay, that looks complicated.
It does, but M just represents the master key. And those numbers basically tell the wallet which branch and leaf on the tree to go to for a specific purpose or account type. Bitcoin, Ethereum, others. They all have their own similar standard pathways.
Okay, so all the different accounts and addresses you might use, they all come from that single seed phrase, but there's sort of different branches on this tree that grows from the master key. That makes sense.
Precisely.
But does this mean that each set of accounts generated is like totally unique to that specific seed phrase?
Absolutely, 100%. Every single account, every single address derived within a single wallet is intrinsically linked to and completely unique to the specific seed phrase it came from.
So,
because the initial seed phrase goes through that deterministic process, meaning the same input always gives the same output to create a unique master key. Any further keys and addresses generated from that master key will also be unique and specific only to that original seed phrase. It's kind of like a cryptographic fingerprint for your entire wallet.
a fingerprint. I like that. So what about overlap then? Could an account generated from, say, my seed phrase ever, by some freak chance, end up being the same as an account generated from someone else's totally different seed phrase?
The likelihood of that happening, an account from your seed phrase being identical to an account from a completely different seed phrase, it's virtually zero, mathematically negligible.
So basically impossible again.
For all practical purposes, yes. Remember, each unique seed phrase generates its own distinct master key through that deterministic process. The mathematical probability of two different seed phrases somehow producing the exact same master key and then consequently the exact same derived accounts. Yeah. It's so infinitesimally small that it's just way outside the realm of anything practically possible. You can think of it like each seed phrase creates its own completely separate and isolated universe of potential accounts and addresses. There's essentially no chance of those universes colliding.
That's a really clear explanation, thank you. So just to recap for everyone listening, the security of these seed phrases seems incredibly strong. That's mainly because of the sheer number of possible combinations, right? Which makes brute force attacks and random guessing essentially impossible.
Exactly. The numbers are just too big.
And because of the way wallets are derived, using that deterministic tree-like structure you mentioned, all the accounts within your wallet are uniquely linked back to your specific seed phrase,
Correct.
and the chance of any overlap, any collision with accounts generated from a totally different seed phrase is, for all intents and purposes, non-existent.
That's the takeaway.
Yeah.
The underlying design of seed phrases and the HD wallet derivation process provides a very, very robust level of security at that fundamental level.
Some really important points there. It sounds like the fundamental security of the seed phrase concept itself is actually quite solid.
It really is. That immense randomness, that entropy packed into just 12 or 24 words, combined with the deterministic way wallets are generated from it, it provides a very strong foundation for securing your cryptocurrency.
Definitely something to keep in mind as you navigate the crypto space. The core tech seems sound, which maybe lets you focus more on, well, how you handle that phrase.